Thank you for joining us today. I am Luis Davia Zambuja, BACCF 2021 Executive Vice President of the Brazilian American Chamber of Commerce of Florida, and it's my pleasure to welcome our guests and speakers today. Before we start our program, I would like to bring an update to our participants. The BACCF, with the utmost concern for the well-being of our guests, will require proof of vaccine and the use of masks at our in-person events. Our next event will be Independence Feijoada on the 11th of September. Reservations can be made online at www.brasilchamber.org, or you may contact the chamber at the info@brasilchamber.org. We look forward to greeting all of you very soon. It is now my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Marilyn Blanco Reis. Marilyn is an active BACCF board member. She was the president of the chamber in 2007, 2015, and 16. In 2015, Marilyn started the BACCF CEO series and has been responsible for organizing and hosting some of the most dynamic events in the chamber has held. We are sure today will be no different. In her business life, Marilyn is the Vice President, Legal and Regulatory Government Affairs for FedEx Express Latin American and Caribbean Division, headquarters in Miami. In addition to her role as General Counsel, Marilyn is part of the division of senior management team and is actively involved in long-range planning, strategic business, alliance, and new business development. Marilyn will take over now and introduce our main speaker, Jeff Thornton, and thank you.
Thank you, Luis David. Good morning, buenos dias, bom dia a todos. I'm truly delighted to be here with you this morning with my Brazilian Chamber member colleagues, with our guests, and sharing the platform with my FedEx colleagues, Jeff, Joey, and Ariel, to tell you a bit of what FedEx has been doing in Latin America since the start of the pandemic. As we all know, in 2020, consumers, CEOs, and corporations, we all had to quickly adapt to new ways of doing business. And FedEx was no different. As a transportation and logistics company, connecting people with goods, services, ideas, technologies that create opportunities, that's what we do, that's our mission. Never has that corporate mission been put to the test more than over these past 18 months. Next slide, please. But let me begin by sharing with you a little bit of detail about FedEx generally, so you understand the context in which we'll be speaking. Our networks reach more than 220 countries and territories, linking more than 99% of the world's GDP. Behind it all are more than 570,000 team members around the world who are united around what we call the Purple Promise, which is to make every FedEx experience outstanding. Even before COVID, we delivered life-saving medicines. We delivered hope to survivors of natural disasters.
Deu uma mensagem que eu te mandei aí agora?
During the holidays. I'm getting
O Luiz
somebody who's not on
Zambuja
mute.
é o Davi?
Hi. Sorry, I can hear somebody who's not on mute. Thank you. We delivered joy during the holidays. Customers around the world count on our diverse portfolio of transportation, e-commerce, and business solutions to power their lives. During our year-end earnings call, our chairman, Fred Smith, said that the last year, which was truly unprecedented, was perhaps the company's finest hour, and I completely agree. As many of you know, I've been at FedEx for quite a long time. In fact, this weekend, I am celebrating my 26th anniversary at FedEx. Well, I celebrate every weekend, not my anniversary, but this weekend will be special. And throughout my career, I have been witness to many inspiring events in our company. We've had tremendous geographic expansions, amazing technological innovations, a very robust diversity and inclusion initiatives, just to name a few. But frankly, they pale in comparison to how well the company has responded to the COVID pandemic. And this is due, no doubt, to the tireless and courageous work of our team members across the world, which has allowed us to deliver desperately needed personal protection equipment to essential workers, all type of household goods to families in isolation, critical inventory that kept companies operating during this very special time, and more recently, thankfully, the most precious cargo of all, the life-saving vaccine, which is the topic of our talk today. Look, we all know it's wonderful to work for a successful company, and when financial success is coupled with a social purpose, it's truly rewarding. And all of us here from FedEx feel that privilege. The next slide, please. On this one, some details about FedEx's Latin America division and our Brazil business. FedEx is a subsidiary of FedEx Corporation and the largest express shipping company in the world. In Latin America and the Caribbean, we have 27,500 employees in 50 countries and territories. We operate 31 flights into Latin America and deliver using more than 5,800 vehicles on the ground. We also operate more than 2,600 retail locations throughout the region. In Brazil, the company's launched its international operations in 1989. In 2002, we purchased Rapidão Cometa, a company based in the Northeast, and started to offer domestic and logistics services. After the global acquisition of TNT in 2016, the company reinforced its presence in Brazil. Today, we have approximately 12,000 employees and we operate 100 facilities. We have one of the newest fleets in the market, less than 6 years old on average, as well as the expertise, infrastructure, and portfolio to serve companies both domestically and internationally. Our state-of-the-art facility in Cajamar opened in 2020 and offers supply chain capabilities to our customers nationwide. As the short video we're about to play says, we're always looking forward to what's next. Video, please. Alrighty, well, I said it was short and it was short. Today, we want to share with you some of the work we've been doing in Latin America in terms of COVID-19. Just a short note, we're not doing any vaccine shipments in Brazil yet, so we'll focus our conversation today on other efforts. However, I think what we've done in other markets is fairly universal and could be applied in Brazil. And when we have the opportunity to assist with the COVID vaccine distribution effort there, we will do so. First up, let me introduce my colleague and friend, Jeff Thornton, our Vice President of Planning and Engineering for FedEx Express Latin America and Caribbean, will give us an overview of our vaccine initiative. Jeff has spearheaded our response effort and has gone to great insights to share with us the work they've been doing. Then we'll ask our two managing directors, Joey Narvaez and Ariel Diaz, to join us for a Q&A and discuss some of the network intricacies and regulatory implications that the pandemic has brought and its impact on the business and the region as a whole. So let me embarrass Jeff by introducing him. But no, Jeff, I will not give away any of our attorney-client privileges.
Good. I did pay my bill.
You did do that, yeah. For the last 18 months, Jeff has been one of the busiest people in our region, leading our COVID response efforts and adjusting our flights and ground fleet throughout the region so that we can respond to the demands. With more than 35 years of experience at FedEx Express, Jeff Thornton oversees a diverse team of managers and professionals that support all facilities, vehicles, aircraft scheduling, engineering, and customs clearance services in the 50 countries and territories where we operate. Jeff understands our regions very well and previously served as Vice President of Operations for Central America and the Caribbean. And for a while, he was even based in Sao Paulo as Managing Director of Operations, the assignment that he enjoyed the most. I know that based on his proclivity for caipirinhas. Jeff has also won numerous awards and recognition for his efforts with both Latin America and in the US Southern region, where he spent most of his career at FedEx. He's a graduate of Creighton College and holds an MBA from the University of Tennessee. Please help me welcome Jeff Thornton. Jeff?
Hey, thank you, Marilyn. Obrigado. Bom dia. As Marilyn said, I have spent a little time in Brazil as an assignment as an expat back in 2015 there in Sao Paulo, and have responsibilities for Brazil. So Brazil is very near and dear to me. Unfortunately, it was a short assignment, but did get to visit some of the countryside and some of the different cities there, and really enjoyed everything about Brazil. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about where we are with the COVID response and what's been going on from a global standpoint from FedEx, and also cover Latin America, what's going on there. Go ahead, Viana, if you can get the slides up. I'm just showing the video still. Is that what you're seeing, Marilyn, just the end of the video?
Yes, I see the end of the video. So there we are.
Good deal. But I'm going to talk a little bit to start with about just the corporation as a whole. Marilyn covered some of it. I'll cover just a little bit more to kind of give you a feel for overall the global perspective of FedEx. Right there, you can start right there, Viana. And just how we've been operating, and then also how this has really set us up to respond to the COVID situation that's really been an unbelievable pandemic that's affected everybody in the world and continues to. We were hoping that we would see a decrease by now, but unfortunately with this Delta variant and some other items, it is just continuing to be a unbelievable situation for all of us. But as you know, Marilyn talked about, we are a large global company, and we have many operating companies within FedEx, and FedEx Express that we're members of here is just one of the subsidiaries of the FedEx corporate. And we really do things together. We compete collectively to ensure that we've got one brand facing the world and doing everything we can to be one voice. We operate collaboratively. We move things between each other and make sure that we're putting the right products in the right network to ensure the absolute best solution for our customers. And then we've really started to, in the last few years, especially because there's so much digital innovation, we are really pushing hard with our digital innovation and our business analytics and making sure that the information is there for everybody to see. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, about some of the innovation and the technology that we used on the movement of our COVID packages, the vaccine packages that we've done. But, you know, we really have an unbelievable supply chain across the whole globe to ensure that there's the solutions that everyone needs out there, and that we're making every effort to meet the transportation needs of all of our customers, from the small individual person to the largest corporation and to the governments also. E-commerce has been unprecedented, explosion of e-commerce with the COVID pandemic, which has stressed everybody's network, not just FedEx's, but every company out there's network, because the deliveries to the homes have been, I'm getting a little feedback somewhere. Marilyn, it might be you, I'm not sure. But the deliveries to everyone's home has just exploded. We knew e-commerce was the growth of the future, but because of everybody working from the home, like we're all still doing, and even us today, it is caused people to really go to the e-commerce solution, and having things delivered. It's put a major stress across the whole globe for everyone. So, but we continue to improve our networks and make sure that we can have the right capabilities to solve the customer's needs and everyone's needs in this time frame. Go ahead, Bianca. So just, Marilyn talked about it. We are a member of Express, and I was just looking at this slide as it comes up. You can hardly see the Americas and South America there in Brazil over on the left-hand side. But Express is the world's largest transportation company. We link about 99% of the GDP across the globe. As Marilyn talked about, 250,000 employees. We average about 6 million packages daily, and about 35 million in revenue annually for the Express part of the company, of the overall corporation. Very large network, as you can imagine, servicing the 220 countries nationwide or globally. Go ahead, V. This is more of the overall global perspective, where we have almost a little over 600,000 worldwide employees. We handle about 17 million shipments in all of our operating companies combined, 180,000 vehicles. Bigger thing there, though, is the 678 aircraft, and we have the largest cargo aircraft fleet of anyone in the world, and really enables us to meet the needs and really tie the globe together and be able to move the goods from point A to point B, wherever that point A and point B might be, and in a very timely fashion by servicing the 220 plus countries and territories globally. This is something that Fred Smith built, and I know you've all read the story about Fred and how he did the paper in college for Yale when he was at Yale, and then turned that into a company back in April of '73, and it's just exploded since then. And I've been very lucky to be here for 37 years, and as Marilyn was talking about, a lot has changed. It has been a tremendous amount of change, but same thing with her. This last 18 months has been something that I've never dealt with all the different emergency situations we've had over the years, the hurricanes, those type of things that we always deal with, and being able to respond to those very quickly and effectively. This COVID situation has put a tax on everyone, and it has been a unbelievable undertaking by everyone involved, and just had an unbelievable response. And I'm talking about from every organization, not just within FedEx, but in the governments also working with them. But it's been something to behold for sure. Go ahead, B. So this just gives you a quick makeup of all the operating companies that help make up FedEx, or that really do make up FedEx Corporation. It has grown over the years. When I started in '84, it was just FedEx Express, but now we have freight, we have ground, we have the different regions within FedEx Express, both Europe, the Americas, which we're included in, and Brazil is included in, and then APAC, EMEA as we call it, because it's Asia and Middle East and Africa. But the other operating companies we have is a services company that handles all the commercial and all the information technology groups, FedEx Office, which I'm hoping that all of you are very familiar with being able to go and drop off pickup packages and have print capabilities, those type of things. And then FedEx Logistics that handles more of the supply chain side of the house for us. But it's a massive network of companies and capabilities that we have that help us meet the needs of everyone. Go ahead. For the COVID-19, and really start talking about that and how we deliver the Purple Promise, and Marilyn talked about making sure every transaction meets the customer's needs at the end. From an express standpoint, we've been able to utilize our line haul, our massive line haul, those 600 plus planes that we talked about, ensuring that the international and domestic shipments were moved, both for PPE, the supplies there, and then the vaccines that have started since last year. Custom Critical is another division of Express that handles a lot of the ground servicing specialized needs with refrigerated trucks, early morning deliveries, point-to-point deliveries, and they've done a super job of working with us on the bulk vaccine movements. In fact, it was Custom Critical that moved the first tractor trailers from Minneapolis into Memphis, or not into Memphis, but into the local ramp where we moved the vaccines the first time when it was approved, and they were ready to be shipped. From a FedEx Logistics, as I talked about, supply chain and has done things, and they've been working with technology called Sense-Aware ID, and that is where we actually put a tag on each package. And in the US and in some of the international countries that have the capabilities, we're able to follow that package as it moves through our system using Bluetooth and GPS technology and know where that package is at any given time. And this has been a great technology for us to use because with the vaccines being so important, we didn't want to lose sight of those. And it's worked out as a tremendous benefit for our customers and their recipients and us to ensure that we've got the correct tracking of each of those packages. And it's something that we'll be rolling out in the future for our highly priority packages that our customers really need, up to the second. And I'm truly talking about up to the second capabilities of knowing or information, knowing where their package is and how it's moving through the system. Our FedEx Trade Networks is our clearance network. We clear on the express side, customs clearance on the express side, but we do that with FedEx Trade as our broker within FedEx. And they've done a super job of helping us work through the government regulations and the clearance paperwork of those things for the vaccines. And Ariel will probably speak to that in just a little while because Ariel Diaz on our regulatory and legal side has just been tremendous in ensuring that the movements that we've made across international lines where we're cross-border, that we've been able to have the right documentation, work with the different governments and ensure we've got everything where it moves very fast through the system and gets delivered as quick as possible with the vaccines. Our FedEx services that I talked about more on the commercial side, and then our data side for handling the AI and machine learning for the future, and then FedEx Ground that's been handling if there's any returns of any vaccines or really the empty packaging, because the packaging that we've been shipping out has been pretty good sized boxes, and they're interpacked, have dry ice in those, and those are specialized boxes. And some of the companies that are shipping those out, Pfizer, Moderna, have been wanting those returned, and FedEx Ground is how we've been returning those in the US. Not internationally. Internationally, we've been doing something a little bit different there. Go ahead, V. The things have just changed so dramatically, trying to manage what's happened with COVID-19 and the demand that's been put upon us, not only from the vaccines, but for the PPE and the supplies. There was millions and millions of PPEs that were backlogged in different places because there was such a demand, and trying to move our network around and getting the right flights and the right trucking scenarios in place to be able to meet the demand. Because when this first started back, I guess it was April of 20, when everything started shutting down and we started seeing the massive requests for additional PPE and safety protocols and things. You couldn't even find anything. Couldn't find hand sanitizers, couldn't find masks, couldn't find gloves, and that was at the hospitals. And so we were doing a lot of different things to ensure the network's capabilities were there and improving those and ensuring the supply chains kept moving the goods and trying to do those in a timely fashion, but in really an unprecedented time of the demand that we saw. So we worked with the U.S. Department of Health. We worked with Project Airbridge to help assist movement of PPE across the globe. We added over 100 charters, and this is probably outdated information, even though it was pretty current as of about a month ago, still adding additional charters to move different freight from not just the PPE now, but just the backlog of commerce that's being moved to keep things moving and keep the world going. We've transported with our FedEx logistics group over 1,000 ocean containers, mainly with PPE on those. A lot of that was coming from the Asia Pacific market into the US and into other areas. And then we've also invested in about $125 million just in PPE equipment and supplies to ensure that our employees are safe and our facilities are safe for customer interaction. and keeping everybody as safe as we possibly can. And I can tell you that's been a major undertaking, as I'm sure each of you with your own companies have seen that, trying to ensure that your employees have the supplies, especially back in the first 6 months or so of the pandemic when you just couldn't find anything. So a huge undertaking here with the COVID-19 situation and how we've tried to address that. But the network, and Joey's going to talk a little bit about some of the responses in the open items of the network, was just trying to move this many flights on top of the massive demand where people were ordering things to their homes, and just it was just really changed the way we had to look at our overall network, especially out of a lot of the international markets, including Brazil. We've seen a unprecedented amount of volume in and out of Brazil, and run what we call an extra section. We've got a scheduled flight 6 times a week in and out of Sao Paulo, actually out of Viracopos at BCP Airport. And we continue to run extra flights every week almost, trying to meet some of the demand just in Brazil. And that's just one part of the network that we look at on a daily basis. So just kind of give you an idea of what's been going on there. Go ahead, V. I think if you really, we talk about it, but we have been trying to be the best partner we can be with all the different companies and the manufacturers and distributors, and then the government administrations also, to deliver the vaccine. We actually formed a task force when the vaccines were first starting to show promise, and I guess it was summer of 20, that they would be released for emergency use authorization, which actually happened, I think, in December. But we formed a task force and started working with the U.S. government to start with, because how we were going to move the vaccines in the U.S. And then we also formed task force in every one of our regions, and that's what I led for Latin America. We had APAC, Middle East, Europe, and Latin America, Canada, and the U.S. all working together on this task force to ensure that when the vaccines were released and we had the capabilities and ready to move those, that we had everything lined up to understand how we were going to move these vaccines, what different network capabilities we needed to put in place, what different customs clearance, especially for the cross-border, that we needed to have. And that's where regulatory and legal really played a major role, helping us with that, along with our trade networks, to ensure that the customs brokerage was done correctly. But it was just an unbelievable effort by everybody pulling together and putting the plans together to understand what the needs were going to be for this vaccine distribution, and putting that as our priority over other items. And we did that. There were times where we had commerce, high revenue commerce, that we left behind to move the vaccines into certain areas, because we put the highest priority on these shipments, and have put in, I can tell you, countless additional flights and trucking and people to ensure that this was these were delivered as early as possible. But we've been working very strongly with all the different agencies, from the government agencies to private sector, with the Moderna, Pfizer, and J&J, Johnson & Johnson, that have been doing the main of the vaccines. We've also worked with AstraZeneca on their vaccine, which really has not taken off like others, especially in the U.S. Other parts of the world it is. And then we've also had some interactions with China on their vaccine and Russia on their vaccine. We have not moved either one of those that I'm aware of, especially into LAC. I know we haven't moved any into Latin America, but we continue to work with all the different groups and agencies and distributors and administrations to ensure that we're ready. And we put massive plans in every country, understanding what it would take to move the products in and out of the country for the vaccines, to be ready when we were given the call or were given the opportunity to help with that. We were ready for it, whether it was, Mexico, Guyana, Uruguay, just wherever those things came, we were ready to go. Actually, one of our first bigger opportunities in Latin America, one of our areas, is Puerto Rico, which is one of the larger islands for us. And we've been moving goods in and out of there quite a bit. and also the USVIs. And then there's other countries that I'll get to in just a minute that we've supported with our network and our capabilities to get the vaccines into, which has been a great success for us. Go ahead. So as far as the delivering of goods and more of a global perspective here, we have supported disasters in the past and worked with different agencies, and we continue to do that. We're a proud member of the Civil Reserve Air Fleet, which is a volunteer program, and we have our aircraft dedicated and resources dedicated to the Department of Defense and Air Mobility Command in times of emergencies, and we've enacted that during this time. We've delivered partnerships that we have. We've delivered a Heart to Heart, which is a major nonprofit in the U.S., and of course, American Red Cross, which everybody knows about, and numerous other humanitarian organizations that we've helped in the past and along with this pandemic, whether it was PPE supplies or the vaccines. There has been some different donations that the U.S. government has done, and they've worked with some of the nonprofit organizations to distribute those into some of the countries, Mexico being one of those that we worked with them to distribute supplies into, or actually the vaccines into Mexico. The other thing that we've done, we've committed over $4 million of cash and in-kind transportation support throughout different nonprofits. Direct Relief was a major one, International Medical Corps, and like I talked about, Heart to Heart, and continue to move vaccines through a humanitarian effort where possible. Unfortunately, we can't meet all the demands that's been given to us from a humanitarian effort, and there has been some that's been moved, of course, at a revenue basis for sure. But we continue to work as strong as we can with the different agencies there and ensure that we're moving the goods as quick as possible. Go ahead. This is one of the things that, to give you some specifics about the COVID-19 and how it moved. And this is US specific. So I'll talk a little bit about Brazil in just a second, but one of the things with the US side, we actually delivered, and we think it was the first vaccine delivered as far as, a true movement with the transportation company. On December 14th at 5:53, we delivered the first vaccine to Boston Medical Center in Boston, Massachusetts. A very proud moment for us. That's really when the vaccines were finally given to us and some other carriers to start moving across the U.S. when it had the emergency authorization in place. So we were extremely happy, and that started quite a bit of delivery throughout. And we've actually delivered roughly 100 million vaccines in the U.S. About half the vaccines has been distributed by the government throughout 50 states and territories, and that includes Puerto Rico and Latin and USVIs. We've also delivered the kits and the supplies that actually administer the needles and the syringes and gloves and those type of things. Along with that, what happened was Moderna, Pfizer, and J&J would put together a kit that sometimes they would ship with the vaccine, sometimes they'd ship in advance of the vaccine. So wherever the administrative group was that was actually administer the shots would have the kit. So we'd have a delivery that we had to arrange to get the kits there to be prepared, and then the vaccines to come right after that to be administered. And of course, all the vaccines had to be cold. We have a cold chain throughout the refrigeration throughout the movement to ensure that they stay intact. We did that through the packaging and also through different capabilities that we have, where we have refrigerated areas or freezers, and then working also with the local authorities and what they had available to ensure that we moved those correctly and kept the integrity of the package. So there was a lot of logistics that we had to put together for each of the moves to ensure that integrity of the package was kept together and ensure that the transportation was done in the timely fashion and met our commitments that we had put forth with the companies, the manufacturers, the drug manufacturers, and also with the government agencies that were receiving it to ensure that we gave it to them so they could get it to the communities as fast as they possibly could. And this was a great effort by all. And And really, some of the most important work we have ever done as a company has been to handle these shipments for the world. And we continue to do that. We continue to be ready on a global basis as the need arises. Just this week, we've delivered quite a few into Latin America, and I'll talk about those in just a second. But it's just an ongoing effort. Even though you're starting to see in the U.S., it kind of slowed down, and there's still actually there's a surplus of vaccines now, and we're starting to see those start to move and be donated to some of the countries that do not have that capability or not being able to receive them. And so we're helping move those to those downline countries. I think we can go ahead and go to the next one. This is something that looking at it from a global perspective and also from a Latin American perspective, we've delivered to over 47 countries worldwide, just to kind of give you an idea. But that's 47 of 222 that we have the capabilities. We just haven't seen some of the countries ask for the help, or some of the manufacturing companies be able to give it to some of the countries, and they continue to work on that. Continue to work on trying to get those approved and get shipments ready. And we've got capabilities that, like I say, all the global teams that worked across the world in every region, we have the capabilities ready. It's just a matter of the manufacturing company and the individual governments or recipients, asking for that. So we're very much ready for that. 11 of those 47 were in Latin America. We delivered over 20,000 shipments of vaccines and kits. The other thing we've delivered is over 50,000 pounds of COVID-related equipment into Brazil. And this was coming out of Puerto Rico. There's a manufacturer in Puerto Rico that was manufacturing equipment that would help with the mixing of the vaccine that was being brought into Brazil in different manners. And this equipment, we moved it in the same manners that we were moving the vaccines, because we knew it was so important for Brazil to have the vaccine with the number of people that you have and the number of cases that were going on in Brazil. We made it a major priority within Latin America, and Joey and Ariel and their teams worked tremendously to ensure the movement of this freight into Brazil was done as expeditiously as possible. And it's worked out great so far. So I'm hoping that as you start seeing the vaccines improve in Brazil, that this played a part of it. And if there's a need in Brazil, we're ready to move that too. We've worked on a couple of items that just didn't come to fruition, were moved in different ways or came from a different a source outside of Brazil that decided to move it in a different means. But we do have the capabilities ready, and like I'd say, it's just a matter of being asked and being given the opportunity. So we're like I said, we're ready. I mean, I can't tell you how much time that the team has spent, and there's been besides the three directors that we've had, Claudia, who's handled the commercial side for us in Latin America, Joey's has handled the network and operational side, and Ariel has handled the regulatory. Each of them have had probably 20 to 25 people under them working with them, trying to ensure we probably have a team of right at 70 people in Latin America to work on this, and have done a superb job of ensuring that we have all the capabilities ready to go. We've had outstanding results so far in Latin America. And like I said, this week, we're moving shipments into some of the smaller countries in the Caribbean. We've moved some stuff into the Central America area and Costa Rica. And Mexico has been a major move for us. But we have had a tremendous amount of volume that was capable and ready to move that's happened, and have really had no hiccups whatsoever in the moves in Latin America. I think there was one day that we had to have somebody from the government, or actually from the government of Costa Rica, meet us at the plane and help with some of the paperwork to ensure that some movements came in from Canada for their embassy. But that was like a one-day deal. Everything else, because of the work that everyone's done, and they even worked on that one, it just was some different things. The paperwork wasn't all done correctly on the origin side, but the team has worked just tirelessly to ensure that the capabilities are there, and have made it work in every one of the moves. And like I said, for all 50 countries and territories, we have got a solution that in place. And even when we didn't have a direct solution, we've worked with other vendors and other agencies to help us create a solution so that we're ready to go in anywhere that's out there. We've delivered about, let's see, in Mexico it was about 1.35 million doses of the vaccines. Uruguay, we did 500,000 vaccines that were donated by the U.S. government. And then there's just been a massive amount of supplies that the PPE supplies that we have delivered throughout. And like I said, the 50,000 pounds of manufacturing equipment delivered to Brazil to be used for the COVID vaccine locally. We've delivered to embassies, we've delivered to the Department of Defense. Canada has had a major push into their embassies, the U.S. Department of Defense into their areas that we have delivered. And just has been an unbelievable, I think, response to the massive pandemic that has happened across the world. And I know I covered a lot of different things. Oh, in India, and I apologize, but India with the issue that happened in India a couple of months ago with the oxygen concentrators that they needed in masks. We did run several charters, 3 charters of our largest aircraft, our 777, Boeing 777s into India to help them out, and received a lot of great news out of that, and really helped save a lot of lives. And that's really what we've been most proud of, I think, is that even with this pandemic and how much it's affected everyone, I think everyone across the world has stepped up to a new level. All of us have figured out new ways to work, like we're sitting here right now on Zoom, and before we'd be trying to all get together in one group or one meeting, those type of things, one room. But the massive outpouring of humanitarian help and just the caring across the world has just been unbelievable. And we feel like FedEx has been able to play a major role in that because of our network capabilities and because of the plans that we've put in place. We've always been outstanding in ensuring that we react very well to an emergency situation. This has been an unbelievable one, but I think with all the work and effort and help from everybody involved, and going outside of FedEx to get that help at times and ensure that we have been ready, and not only ready, but we also delivered on our promise, has been outstanding for everyone. So I think that's enough for me. That's about 45 minutes or so. I do want to thank these 3 people that have helped pull the team together. They had me as the lead, but these are the ones that really did all the work. And I know we got Joe. I think we have all 3. I think Claudia's on also. I'm not sure. I thought I saw her up here. But we have all 3 here to help me answer some questions as some that may have come up. So, Marilyn, I hope that's kind of where we wanted to go today and kind of explain things a little bit. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. That was great, great material. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of questions. Just so we don't leave anybody out, and I'm glad you mentioned Claudia, because we don't want the audience to think that this is a guys only endeavor.
That's right.
We've got a great project manager that leads this whole initiative, keeps everybody moving to the beat of her drum, and that's Natalie Duran, who's done a tremendous job of keeping everybody synced up. So now,
and we let Natalie have vacation. We let her have vacation this week, or she'd be right here with us, because she's the one with all the real answers.
I heard you didn't let people have vacation.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Yeah. Okay. So let me bring up Joey and Ariel. You've been hearing their names, and let me formally introduce them. Joey Narvaez is the Managing Director of Planning and Engineering for the LAC division. His work focuses mainly on field engineering network planning, including operational planning, best practices, process development and implementation, as well as air and ground network planning, commercial line haul procurement. Joey handles ISO 9000 compliance matters in over our 50 markets. More recently, he's been assigned to lead the COVID-19 vaccine distribution task force, supporting our vaccine transportation efforts in LAC. And Ariel is the Ariel Diaz, the Managing Director of Regulatory and Government Affairs or LAC. His work focuses mainly on regulatory and public policy advocacy on matters involving customs and trade, as well as air and ground transportation in the region. Ariel handles regulatory and corporate compliance matters in all of our markets. More recently, he's been extremely active in our COVID-19 distribution task force, supporting vaccine distribution and logistics projects. Gentlemen, welcome to our panel. So here up
Thank you,
our
Marilyn.
Thank you.
Our first question, and it goes to Ariel. From the regulatory point of view, the onset of COVID has also kept your government affairs team very busy, Ariel. What are some of the lessons learned in terms of how we work with government entities to ensure that we're keeping our employees and our customers safe?
Well, Marilyn, thank you for the question. I'd like to start off first by thanking the team and the BACCF for hosting this event. I think that while COVID-19 and the pandemic began close to 18 months ago, recent surges in infections remind us all that we must keep our guard up and remain focused on following sanitary protocols with the hopes of ultimately curbing the spread and keeping this under control. Going back to lessons learned, there have been many. I think we as FedEx and really the express industry as a whole have witnessed a constantly changing regulatory landscape during this time. From the beginning, where we had rolling lockdowns across many countries, large and small, including Brazil, mostly at the state level, where businesses and commercial activity were forced to close, to shelter in place and curfew restrictions that required sudden shifts in work schedules, and particularly remote work mandates. Even as an airline, we saw significant entry restrictions and health screening requirements for our global flight crews, one of the more essential pieces of our network. We even faced potential disruptions in customs clearance operations as many customs authorities throughout the region began limiting working hours for inspectors. Fortunately, FedEx and the express industry, as well as the cargo industry more generally, were able to advocate with local governments. We were essentially on the phone, as you know, every day, day in and day out, to ensure that customs operations across the region were not affected, given the need for so many essential items, so many essential goods to clear and get imported into our countries and get in the hands really of our customers and our communities. So needless to say, this has been a time where volatility and operational adaptability have been the norm rather than the exception. And through this all, I think we need to recognize that it has been the mission of government to keep populations safe by tightening controls, while at the same time ensuring adequate supplies of critical goods, including food and medications, medical and personal protective equipment, and other essential items. Of course, our mission as FedEx has been to keep our own employees and customers safe, while at the same time continuing to serve the critical shipping needs of the world, and especially our region, through our vast transportation and logistics networks that Jeff was mentioning earlier, always adhering to all sanitary protocols in each of our 50+ countries. Keeping both of these really complementary missions clear in our mind as we work through governments across the region on a daily basis has been fundamental. During the last 18 months, our work and the work of so many colleagues in the government affairs space has focused on partnering with governments, especially health officials, to express support, but also more importantly, to ensure that our missions, particularly our FedEx mission of delivering on transportation and logistics solutions, especially designed to meet medical and healthcare needs, are able to continue moving forward. Through it all, FedEx and the express industry earned the privileged distinction of being considered an essential services provider across most of our countries, particularly in Brazil, and allowed to operate basically uninterruptedly across most countries, even during the most critical periods of the pandemic. More recently, as you know, most of our attention has turned to the life-saving vaccine distribution efforts. In this sense, we have had the opportunity to team up with several governments now, helping them develop direly needed solutions to deliver on vaccine raw materials, as well as the vaccines themselves. Just yesterday, I think Jeff alluded to earlier, we completed a very important delivery of critical vaccine shipments to a host of countries in the Caribbean under the US CARICOM initiative. Our work on this front has ranged from working with governments to create expedited procedures to clear and import vaccines, to work on very complex regulations to allow transportation companies certain facilitations to deliver vaccines leveraging our express and ground networks, including bonded warehouse facilities and other facilities at the airport gateways in which we operate throughout the region. So in some lessons learned, there have been many, but still many, many more to come as we continue day in and day out to serve our customers and our communities during the pandemic.
Thank you, Ariel. I know your team has been critical in this effort. Joey, recently we've seen a surge in volumes, a lot of business, and you're responsible for the airline haul. Tell us how you've been able to handle this.
Well, thank you, Marilyn. It has been quite a year. It's been very interesting. You know, we've seen in the past year, we've seen some surge in volumes, not only in Latin America, but globally, in the US, in APAC, in Europe. So we've had to work very closely together to make sure that we understand what our capabilities are. As you know, FedEx is very process oriented. You know, we like to plan, and sometimes it gets to a point we like to overplan. Well, you know what? Over planning pays off because we've been able to leverage our existing network. We've been able to get creative, do things that perhaps in the past we have not done because in the past we might have used a commercial line haul partner. Or we might have used a charter flight. Some of those things are not available today. So we've had to work together, and working with Ariel and your team, and working with marketing and working with operations, and collectively coming together to come up with these brainstorming ideas on how we can continue to provide the best service we can with the existing network that we have. We've also have to look at how we're going to work towards the future. You know, what are the things that we can do better to be better prepared in the event that the volume continues to grow, whether it be, you know, leasing aircrafts, whether it be signing new partnerships, whether it be leveraging within our own sister companies, like Jeff mentioned, FedEx Logistics, FedEx Ground, working closely with our legal, regulatory, and customs teams to understand and to make sure that we're prepared for these volume surges. And then turning over to the vaccine, you know, we've had to do things and be prepared for a shipment that was kind of like the unknown. And Ariel touched to it. You know, when we first started putting these plans together, we really didn't know what the expectation was. What were the temperature control requirements? How are we going? What were our capabilities at some of the destinations? Did our teams have the right licenses, the right permits? Did we have the right vehicles? What was the restrictions on from the FAA as far as aircraft carrying, you know, whether it be dry ice or carrying some type of dangerous good product that may be required? So all that planning, you know, had to be done well in advance. Remember, I think we did a great job. I think we have a good success story. I think we delivered a lot of vaccines, as Jeff and Ariel talked about. You know, we've been successful in the Caribbean. We've been successful in Central America. Obviously, in the U.S., we've reached out. We've worked closely with China. We've worked closely with India on some of the transportations, Colombia. So, and in Brazil, as Jeff talked about, we've done some good planning in Brazil. Obviously, it might have gone in a different direction as far as the provider, but I think the customer was completely satisfied that FedEx was more than capable of providing the service that they were looking for. So we look forward for these opportunities. I think we're in a good place moving forward. I think we got solid operating plans, and most important is we got the right people. Our employees during the COVID, during the pandemic, coming to work, delivering the Purple Promise, making sure that that we were there to provide the service that our customer needs. That was never in question. And I think when you have that type of infrastructure, we're ready. And I say, you know what, bring it on. Let's get those vaccines into Brazil.
Hey, Joey, I want to stay with you on the because I think everybody's very curious. We know that Pfizer and Moderna, those vaccines require very specific cold temperatures for them to travel safely. Tell us a little bit about how we've been able to do that. I think everybody's curious about that.
Yeah, you know, and Ariel has probably become just as much as an expert as I am. He's legal / operator at this point. But what we've obviously each of these products have a unique requirement. So what we've had to do is we've had to provide the tools that are necessary, whether it be moving it in a container, which is a temperature controlled container that can hold sustained temperature up to 120 hours, whether it be with the SensorWare ID, as it's actually classic SensorWare, which monitors the temperature that we can put it inside the package, and through a Bluetooth technology, we're able to monitor the temperature of the shipment, whether it be through a cold chain facility, cold chain containers and transportation, moving it in a reefer truck, in a refrigerated truck from point to point. So we've been able to put together all these type of solutions for our customers, catered to each one of these products, whether it be Johnson & Johnson, whether it be Moderna, or whether it be Pfizer. And they've also done an excellent job of coming up with their own type of solutions and with their own type of shipping box or self-contained temperature that's also been very useful for us. So it's been a great partnership, and I think it's given us the opportunity to better understand what needs to happen moving forward.
Thank you, Joey. You know, gentlemen, I can't believe we've run out of time. I thought that it was going to take, it's wonderful when we get engaged in these kind of conversations, the time flies. Thank you so much. Thanks for your insights. Thanks for your time. We had fun. Luis David, back to you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Jeffrey, Ariel, Marilyn, Joel.
You froze.
You froze.
Hey, Marilyn, real quick, I see a note came across to the chat. Someone was asking where and when the first vaccines were delivered in Brazil. You know, I don't have that information, and I don't know if Joey or Ariel does, but we weren't involved with the first delivery into Brazil. I believe it was moved through with the Azul Airlines, if I recall correctly. But we did move the equipment in there to help with as far as mixing the raw materials in Brazil. So just to answer that.
Thank you, Jeff. Luis David froze. We should have put a SensorWare device on him.
Yeah.
What his temperature was. Luis, are you back?
Well, then I guess I'll thank everyone on behalf of the Chamber. Marilyn, thank you very much. Jeffrey, Joey, Ariel, and Viana, thank you for helping with the slides. As we mentioned, our next in-person event will be on September 11th. And our next webinar will be on the end of next week on the 28th. So thank you, FedEx. This was very interesting. I'm sure everybody had a lot of more questions. I did, but I'm privileged because I can call Marilyn and ask her all my questions.
There we go. Well, thanks for the invitation. I really hope the information we shared was enlightening and kind of help you understand what's been going on from our perspective.
It was great. Thank you. And I hope everybody on the call today has been vaccinated. Thank you for participating, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Good day.
Bye.
Thank y'all.
Bye.